Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'd like to, my name is Dr. Huw Griffiths, and I'd like to begin today by talking about something that's very close to my heart. I'd like to talk about the story of Wales, Stori Cymru. And as we look then, I think of the idea Cymru fach yn rhan o byd mor fawr, a small little Wales, a part of a larger world. As I said, I want to talk about Stori Cymru, the story of Wales. It's included within the new curriculum. If you look under humanities, it emphasises the need for us to teach Cynefin, story of Wales, and the world. So therefore, I'd like to focus just on two words. And I know you could say there are 26,888 words within the new curriculum, and you simply want to study and look at two words. But to me, they're very, very, very important. I previously discussed Cynefin, so I'd encourage you to have a look at the word Cynefin and in my opinion, how that is important to the new curriculum. But Stori Cymru. But I'd like to take you back in time a little bit. I'd like to begin by introducing you to a great hero of mine, a man named O.M. Edwards, who was a school inspector, a writer, an author, a publisher. He published numerous magazines through me being Welsh. Arguably one of his most famous was Cymru'r Plant, and it's a copy of the first edition of Cymru'r Plant, which appeared in January 1892. And in the January 1892, he outlines it had a profound impact upon people in Wales then during this period, and for several years after that. He speaks, in the introduction, he speaks to the young people of Wales. And I've translated his words, as you can see. I want to teach you the history of Wales, the history of our country, and the history of our own fathers and mothers. As you can see, this was written in the late Victorian era, so the views were slightly different to a certain extent. The fathers and mothers who laid down their lives for your homes, the fathers and mothers who laboured to get you a Bible, the fathers who suffered, fathers and mothers who suffered need and insult when trying to get you your education. These words were written over 130 years ago. And I'd argue that we still haven't achieved that goal of teaching our young learners here in Wales the history of Wales, the story of Wales. The new curriculum offers us an opportunity that we should, open ourselves to, and to ensure that the story of Wales is taught to the learners here in Wales. I'd like to analyse maybe some of those two words. I'd like to begin with the word story itself and begin by tackling what I view as the meaning of the word story. The story actually begins maybe over 50,000 years ago, when man and woman first appeared on this planet. And I'd like for you to think maybe and try and consider the question, what has made us so special? What has made us into these sort of gods that control this planet? And I'd come back then and answer this question, but I'd want you to consider it at least at the moment. Earth itself then, well, Earth was created 4.6 billion years ago. 4.6 billion years ago. And when I say numbers like that, it doesn't actually mean anything to us. So if we simplify that and merely think of it as 46 years. So the Earth was created 46 years ago. Man and woman first appeared 4 hours ago. Within that 46 years, we simply appeared 4 hours ago. Well, the Industrial Revolution happened less than a minute ago. Less than a minute ago, the Industrial Revolution. And within that, less than that minute, we have destroyed almost half the rainforest in the world. We are by far the most destructive creature that has ever lived on this planet. So to come back to my original question then, how have we become gods? What is so unique about us as creatures? What's given us this unique role as individuals to control this planet? And I'd argue nothing. As individuals, there's nothing unique about us. For example, if you put me on a tropical island with any other plant or with any other animal, if you put me on a tropical island with a mouse, or a lion or any other creature, if you came back in a few months' time, I'd probably be dead. I wouldn't be able to cope. I wouldn't be able to survive. But the mouse would probably still be there. But what actually makes us so unique is the fact that we collaborate. And we collaborate both flexibly and in large numbers. And this is what made us unique. And I know you could argue with me and say, well, other creatures collaborate in large numbers, such as these bees, for example, but they can only work together in a very rigid way. They are very rigid in the way that they work together. And you could argue that other animals work together flexibly. For example, the dolphins and the monkeys, but they can only work together if they know one another, if they're from the same family, for example. You can't, for example, put 100,000 monkeys in the Millennium Stadium. You'll have pandemonium. Although Banksy would disagree with me, and if you'd put a bunch of monkeys in the House of Commons, you'd probably get more sensible answers that we get from our politicians today. But when we do work together flexibly and in large numbers, as humans, we create amazing things. We can, for example, put a man on the moon. We can create the pyramids of Giza. And yes, you could argue with me a lot of this work was done by slavery, but it was actually people working together. We could build the Great Wall of China. But even after that, what allows us to do this is our remarkable ability to tell stories. And even more powerful than that is our imagination and our ability to create these stories to drive forward the human race. And we can see this in a wide variety. Religion, for example. If we work together, we get a prize in heaven, arguably the greatest story ever told. Countries. There's nothing unique about countries. There's nothing solid about countries, such as rivers and mountains. Countries are simply lines drawn on a piece of paper by us humans. Equally, education. And this is a story that we swallow from our parents and from our teachers. If we work hard, we get a great job. If you get a great job, you get a higher standard of living. You get a great life, sort of thing. But it's merely a story. Money, it's another great story. Money is nothing more than ink and paper. If you had, for example, a monkey, and you had a banana in one hand and a £50 note in the other hand, the monkey would go for the banana every single time because he doesn't believe in the story that we've created around the importance of money. Equally, the law and everything related to the law. If we think of human rights, for example, they're merely stories created by ourselves. So we live in sort of these two sort of worlds, these parallel worlds, the real world made up of mountains, rivers and animals, and this imaginary world of stories that we've created. Another story that we create is history, when we view the past, our past. I presented this presentation first. It's changed dramatically since my first time that I presented it, was in Aberystwyth University. In Aberystwyth University, we're launching a new education department. And I was asked to speak after Kirsty Williams. Kirsty Williams spoke, the education minister at that time, spoke in front of me, and then I presented. And this was before, this was way back in 2000. It was in January 2000, before we had the pandemic. And I presented this slide, and this slide was remarkable, and people, wow. And I said, what are these two? On the left-hand side, we choose the history that we teach our pupils. On the left-hand side is the First World War. On the right-hand side is Spanish flu, I said. First World War, of course, everybody was aware of the First World War, happened in 1914 and 1918. I said Spanish flu happened in 1918. Nobody at that time, prior to the pandemic, knew anything about Spanish flu. And then I came up with a line that 19 million people died as a result of the First World War. Spanish flu, 20 to 50 million people died. And everybody at that time was amazed. Wow, we don't know anything about Spanish flu. Unfortunately, of course, this story has totally changed. We are far, far more aware of the impact that pandemics have upon our lives. It can totally change our lives. And even this slide represents how history, how stories change and adapt due to circumstances. I also asked in that presentation then, who is the greatest devil? And I said, introduced the first one, of course, was Adolf Hitler, followed by Mao Zedong. And the third one then was a man named Paul Tibbets. And I asked the simple question, who is the greatest devil? Well, Adolf Hitler, of course, with the Second World War, was partly responsible for killing 85 million people. Mao, and the story about Mao and the famine that occurred in the 1960s only relatively came out in the last 20 years of what happened in China during the 1960s, where 60 million people died as a result of his policies. The third person was a man named Paul Tibbets. And I asked if anybody knew who Paul Tibbets was. Nobody actually knew who he was. But Paul Tibbets, merely by moving his thumb, he directly killed 150,000 people in Hiroshima. He was responsible for dropping the bomb on Hiroshima. Equally then, the stories that we tell our pupils in schools, the stories that we tell them, of course, of Henry VIII and his wives, the Titanic, Kennedy, the Battle of Hastings, and of course we can't avoid Nazi Germany. And I think this is the real sad reflection of the history that we teach our pupils in schools. And I'm responsible for that. I was a history teacher, I was a head of history for over 20 years. That our pupils leave schools in Wales knowing far more about Nazi Germany and American history than they know about Welsh history. And I know you could argue with me, well, this is bonkers, an insular, small-minded attitude that you now want to change everything, you want to teach Welsh history. But if you look at what happens in other curriculums throughout the world, the emphasis is upon teaching their history, about their country. And this is what we need to do here in Wales. One of the curriculums we studied was looked at in creating, as very fortunate to be a part of one of the teachers that were responsible for developing the curriculum here in Wales. We looked at New Zealand. And in New Zealand, this is the Prime Minister. They adapted the curriculum recently. The curriculum came out in 2017, but they looked again at it and said, well, you know, there are bits here that we're not happy with. And they adapted and changed and said we should be teaching far more New Zealand history. And this is what the Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, came out with very recently. In 2019, the government announced its plans to require all schools to instill in students a comprehensive understanding of New Zealand history. Today, the curriculum is released and it will be taught in all schools and Cura from 2023. Our students will learn more about Maori, the migrant history of Pacifica, and our Asian communities. Across the board, it's all part of who we are, and it's all part of this curriculum. And I think that's what we need to do here in Wales, is to ensure that the story of Wales is taught to the pupils in Wales. Equally then, another country that we looked at, another part of the country was Canada. And we looked specifically then at British Columbia and their curriculum. There was a lot of very similarities in the development in Wales to look at compared with British Columbia. They've got big ideas. We've got the what matters statements, for example, but it's structured in very differently from what we did here in Wales. But if you look at the social sciences, which is the humanities, for example, at grade level, at different grade level, if you look at grade level 2 here, it begins with Canada is made up of many diverse regions and communities. And if you choose another grade level 5, for example, if you look at all 4 points that emphasize then Canada, the third one, Canada's policies for and treatment of minority people have a negative and positive legacies. Equally then, in grade 10, if we look at the first one for grade 10, historical and contemporary injustices challenge the narrative and identity of Canada as an inclusive, multicultural society. The emphasis is clearly upon British Columbia and Canadian history. And this is what we need to do here in Wales. It's not something, we look upon this as sort of narrow-minded, we need to teach. We don't teach Welsh history in Welsh schools at the moment. We need to change this. This is what's happening. And I would encourage you, these are just two examples. I would encourage you to look closely at any education curriculum in the world. You can easily Google some of these then and look at the emphasis that they place upon it. Equally, the new curriculum, the curriculum for Wales, emphasises the importance of teaching the story of Wales. So where do you begin? Well, I'm really encouraged by the fact that the Welsh Assembly of Government have ensured that every single school in Wales has a copy of Hanes y Tir History Grounded. It's an amazing place to start. It's written by a friend of mine, Elin Jones, and I'd really, really encourage you to open the book and to look. This is an insight into the story of Wales, Story Cymru. So I'll go on to the second part. So that's the story. But if you look at the story of Wales, yes, I've highlighted the importance of the book, but where would you actually find, other than that, where would you find the history of Wales? If you look, for example, historically at the Encyclopedia Britannica, and if you look at the start of in the middle of the Victorian era, when O.M. Edwards was writing and encouraging us to teach the history of Wales. If you looked up Wales, it simply said, for Wales, see England. We didn't exist, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. We don't have to look at historical examples. This book, The Story of Britain, from the Romans to the present, is written by Roy Strong. It's over 700 pages on the history of Britain. And if you look at the index, if you look very, very closely at the index and see Wales, you merely got 6 pages. There's 780 pages in the book, but you've merely got 6 pages on Wales. Similarly then, another book, 50 Things You Need to Know About British History. You need to know this about British history. Once again, if you look at the index, there are merely 4 pages on Wales. 4 pages on Wales. And newsflash, folks, if you look at one of them, the Union Jack, we're not even in the Union Jack. Wales does not appear in the Union Jack. 4 pages. And if you look right down at the bottom right-hand corner, you'd find the Zambezi River has 2 pages. There are 2 pages on the Zambezi River, 4 pages on Wales. Equally then, if you look at the newspapers, this is the Telegraph from the 24th of July 2019, when Boris Johnson was first became the Prime Minister. Looked at his popularity. If you look at Wales, well, it's simply Midlands Wales. We no longer exist. We're a part of the Midlands, according to the Telegraph. And as we look back in our history then, I'd look at the back of the, arguably one of the most famous battles of British history, the Battle of Agincourt. And William Shakespeare, of course, in his drama, Henry V, Part 2 then, wrote, "We fair, we happy, fair, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, be he near so vile," and so on and so on. And it's really inspirational. But if you look closely at the Battle of Agincourt, it was the Welsh bowmen that actually won the Battle of Agincourt. It wasn't the men of arms, the ones in the background there with the large pikes. It wasn't the landed gentry on the horses. It was the longbowmen. And history shows that over 500 of those longbowmen came from Wales. They named them. But if you looked at All About History magazine, a magazine that some of our pupils might look at and read, it's the English longbowmen associated with the Battle of Agincourt. It's not even British. It's the English longbowmen. And when I read all this, I really, really get angry. I really, really get passionate. And I just put this next one in just to calm me down. We need to realise, we need to make our young people realise the story of Wales. And very often this is viewed upon as, is this racism, is it narrow-mindedness and so on. To me, this is my favourite photo of Wales. You can stuff your castles, you can stuff your coal mines, and you can even stuff your rugby team. To me, this is Wales, the passion, the pride they feel at being Welsh. And that gives me some sort of llenyddiaeth, some sort of peace of mind. Another thing that's argued as regards, okay, we'll start teaching Welsh history, is that it's boring. Oh, there's nothing more boring. You'll lose pupils if they won't opt to choose a subject. It's about the coal mines, Dewi Sant, the translation of the Bible. There's nothing more boring, but there's nothing more exciting than our history. If you look, for example, at women's rights, how will that way back 1,000 years ago, before the rest of the world looked at women's rights were a part of our laws here in Wales. We're also driven by an education by the PISA results, and on the right-hand side, you can see the PISA results. If the PISA results, were existed almost 200 years ago, Wales would be right up the top there. We had the most educated, wearing, common people in the world because the man on the left-hand side, Griffith Jones. Griffith Jones and the schools that he developed ensured that the common people of Wales could read and write. This was well known throughout the world. The Empress of Russia sent representatives over to Southwest Wales to try and understand how these common people could actually read. We would have been #1 in the PISA results. And as we teach our Welsh history, we choose to teach our Welsh history. And, I feel passionate that we should be teaching about Cofiwch Tryweryn. There's had a lot of focus recently on the Welsh not. And also the idea on the right-hand side is Cymraeg fel iaith y nefoedd. Welsh is the language of heaven. But this is, a very negative meaning behind it then. The idea was that during the 19th century, a lot of fairly affluent people in Wales decided not to teach Welsh to their children. Ceiriog, for example, one of the most famous poets during the time, who wrote Nant y mynydd groew loyw yn ymdroell llitiau'r pant, brought up his children not to be able to speak Welsh, because the idea was it doesn't matter if Welsh dies here in Wales, because once you go to heaven, everybody will speak Welsh. So it doesn't matter if it passes away here. And with the emphasis in curriculums on mythology and Norse mythology and Roman mythology and Greek mythology, and they view this, of course, as the classics. Oh, amazing how important these are. But in Wales, we've got the Mabinogion. We've got our own mythology and the amazing stories related to that. They've got nothing similar in England. They've got nothing close to that. We haven't got the classics. We've got something better. We've got the epics here in Wales. And, Gwynalf Williams, arguably one of the most famous Welsh historians, a socialist, definitely not a nationalist, a socialist, even a Marxist, you could argue. His argument is, since 1410, most Welsh people, at some time or another, if only in some secret corner of their mind, have been out with Owain Glyndŵr and his barefoot warriors, for the Welsh mind is still haunted by its lightning flash vision of a people that were once free. No, Gwen. People in Wales, learners in Wales, are not out with Owain Glyndŵr because they don't know the story of Owain Glyndŵr. They certainly should, and we should ensure that, and we need to change things. But I'd also say that it's not just the history of Wales. We have an opportunity to emphasize this upon all our areas of learning. For example, this is Robert Record, who was responsible for the pi symbol. Equally then the equal symbol, Laura Ashley for design, Lynn Evans, Lynn the Atom, who's responsible for, in charge of CERN, arguably the Collision Hydroscope, arguably the greatest experiment over the last 20 years anywhere in the world, led by a Welshman. Howard Stringer, the first non-Japanese person, businessman, to be responsible for the Sony Corporation, Cyffin Williams, Dylan Thomas, Shirley Bassey, William Jones. William Jones was responsible then for the equal symbol. It should be in every single area of learning. Who we are, our culture, the story of Wales should be deeply involved within all those. And one of the things with us, we lack confidence as a people, I'd say. And this is how the story of Wales can change that. And if we look, we're guided by the PISA results. These are the PISA results then. And if we look closely at that, United Kingdom isn't doing too well, and Wales is doing worse, you could argue. But if you look at other things, such as the Nobel Prizes, the Nobel Prizes, there's 6 prizes every year for peace, for literature, for physics, chemistry, economics, and medicine. And if you look at the countries that have won the Nobel Prizes, United States have won 385, the UK 132, and the countries that lead, these are the countries that lead the PISA results then, such as Finland, South Korea, Singapore, and Estonia. Look at the number of Nobel Prizes they've won. They're not that high compared with Wales. We've won 5. 5 Nobel Prizes. Clive Granger for economics in 2003. Brian Josephson for physics in 1973, Martin Evans for medicine in 2007, Robert Huber for chemistry in 1988, and the polymath Bertrand Russell for literature. He's been described by Stephen Hawking as one of the sharpest minds of the 20th century. But do we teach these people in our schools? The only one that we haven't won is for peace. And I could argue that that's a challenge for us. It's a challenge for us as teachers here in Wales then, because we have an amazing history of peace here in Wales. On the left-hand side is Henry Richard, the Apostle of Peace, who's partly responsible for the creation of the United Nations, you could say. Hedd Wyn in the middle, and, Traws Fynydd decided to remember him not as the soldier, but rather as the shepherd. And on the right-hand side, the building then, the Temple of Peace in the centre of Cardiff, an amazing building. If you've never had the opportunity, I'd really, really encourage you to go in there. So in the world of science, Wales is doing remarkably well. And we should talk about this. We should promote this. If you look at expressive arts, for example, the Oscars, and look at the countries that have won these. I haven't included the United States because the United States simply have won a bonkers amount. But England, 43, Australia, 7, Canada, 6, France, 4. These are for the best actor, best supporting actor, best supporting actress, or supporting actresses. So for acting, for Wales, how many have Wales won? 6. We've won 6. We won an extra one, by the way, this year. If you look at the European countries, 6. Nobody comes close to us. It's absolutely bonkers for the amount of people that live here in Wales. And also you could say 6. Yes, I need to change that. 6. And arguably one of the greatest actors, Richard Burton, who was nominated 6 times, never won. To be fair to Richard, he was given the world a chance, maybe. But our challenge here in Wales, why should we simply have 6? Why should we simply have 5 Nobel Prize winners? Yes, we're happy with those, but our challenge then, as teachers here in Wales then, is to reach for the skies. You have the opportunities, you teach the pupils. Why can't we have 7, 8, or even 9, or even more Nobel Prize winners, Oscar winners here in Wales? Jonas Mekas, the film producer then, in the end, the civilizations perish because they listen to their politicians and not their poets. So I'd like to end or draw everything to a close in the words of a hero of mine, Nicholas a Grace, who wrote Mae'r byd yn fwy na Chymru. And that's where I started. The world is bigger than Wales. I'll read it first in Welsh and then I'll give you my translation. I mi bu Cymru unwaith yn llawer mwy na'r byd. Ni wyddon y pryd hwnnw ddim am led y byd a'i hyd. Mae wedi newid heddi caraf y byd o'r bron, ond nid oes llai o lem gwlad hynny yn fy mron. Mae'r byd yn fwy na Chymru. Rwy'n gwybod hynny nawr. A diolch fod hyn Gymru fach yn rhan o byd mor fawr. The world is bigger than Wales. For me, Wales was once far more than the world. I didn't know at the time the size of the world. It's changed today. I love the whole world. but there's no less room for Wales in my heart. The world is bigger than Wales. I know that now, and I give thanks that little old Wales is part of such a big world. We need to ensure that the story of Wales, Stori Cymru, is a part of our learners' lives. And I'd like to end maybe, and it draws me back and makes me think maybe to the words of another hero of mine, a man named Meredydd Evans, we'll talk about in the video. So I encourage you also to look at the video of Cynefin. And what he says, it's not that your culture, language, literature, or heritage is better than anyone else's. It just happens to be yours. And as teachers here in Wales, we need to ensure that the story of Wales becomes a part of their culture. Diolch yn fawr i chi gyd yn siarad, yn wrando. Diolch, thank you.